All rise for the jury.
You're going to go back to the beginning. Back. Sorry for the delay. Did the jury follow the admonition during the break?
Yes.
We think we have resolved the audio problem, although it's still, everybody can be seated. Thank you. It's still very low volume, so let us know if you can't hear what's being said or are having difficulties.
Okay. And again, this is the video from June 21st at the Crimes Against Children's Unit.
Yes.
So you understand my concern with the story, right? Yes, sir. I mean, I don't think that what you told to take a man out of the school is probably the truth of the video. Because Cassie says she doesn't remember if you stayed outside that night.
John does.
No, not that either.
Because he was passed out on the couch.
I understand. So, why don't we work through what the truth really is, okay? Like I said, you're in here, you're done talking to me, or you can walk out right now, but, so we kind of need the truth, and there's a lot of other things I want to talk to you about. So, let's kind of go through this part first. Tell me the truth about that night.
We were on the back porch. There was me, him, Dad and Amanda stayed on that porch the whole night, evidently, because we were on the back porch and he told me he was going to take a shower and calm down for the night. So I went to Cassie's. I planned on, I didn't know if I was going to sleep down there or sleep down at Amanda's, but I got comfortable down at Cassie's. And I watched the movie and fall asleep. Never once talked about killing anybody, and I never heard my dad talking about killing anybody. And my dad liked Trey, and so did I.
So you just had a chance to think about, honestly, I mean, it was pretty good about your dad was in prison, you got in that. You got a situation.
I mean, I love my dad more than anybody in this world, and I'd rather be with him than anybody in this world. My life was much better with my dad.
So my life was better getting arrested in Alabama?
Being with my dad, it's all worth it.
Well, so you'd rather not be in a secure home, having a secure friend,
My dad,
and family, having Trey your friend, now he gets out of jail, or he gets out of prison, and then quit your job, you don't go to jail, Trey's murdered, I mean, all this is better, that's better than you?
of course not. I said being with my dad is better than being anywhere else. Your job, I'd be doing the same thing, and I understand why you're doing it, but I had nothing to do with it, and I'm pretty sure my dad doesn't either. My dad was with Amanda. She stated that the whole night. Why would she try to change it? Is she trying to change that now?
Well, I'm not going to tell you who's changing whatever you thought.
During this time, was Gallagher in custody in Alabama?
Yes.
How did Young come to be back in Louisville?
I believe Child Protective Services flew down there and picked him up and brought him back.
After this interview, what did you do? And, well, why was this interview at Crimes Against Children?
Well, I just picked that place as more child-friendly. There's less things going on as opposed to headquarters where there's multiple units in there. This is the Crimes Against Children's Unit. I just picked this location to do the interview.
Okay. What did you do on his business?
After, at some point on that, on the 20, I'm trying to get my dates correct because there's so many dates I've got to deal with. On the 22nd of June is when I'd received some information during another interview I was conducting that Detective Adams in Alabama wanted to speak to me, wanted me to call him. So I called him. He said that Mr. Gawker had some information he wanted to pass along to me. We got on the phone. We got Mr. Gawker on the phone. He said he had information he wanted to pass along. He wanted to do that in person. He didn't want to do that over the phone. He asked me to come to Alabama. I told him I needed something more than just him saying he wanted to pass information along to take that drive down to Alabama. At some point, that's when he said, somehow it came up. I was asking about the information, and it came up where he said it was his son involved, something to that effect. The call ended. Myself and Detective Stalvey met with, I believe, the lieutenant of the homicide unit and the acting major at the time. Made plans to go to Alabama and drove straight directly to Alabama after getting our travel arrangements somewhat in order.
And when you got to Alabama, what happened?
We got to Alabama, myself and Detective Stalvey interviewed Mr. Gawker for, I don't know the exact time. It was maybe an hour or two. At some point, a break in the interview was taken so he could go out and smoke, and also for me to make a phone call to the Commonwealth, one of the assistant Commonwealth attorneys.
And why were you calling one of the colleagues?
Mr. Gawker said he had information, additional information he wanted to pass along, but did not want anybody else to be in trouble. And he was kind of specific to only that information was related to basically the tampering with the evidence. Of course, we want that information. We didn't necessarily want to get it the way we got it, but the decision was made. We would call the assistant Commonwealth attorney. Normally, we would talk to Tom Vander Rothstein, who was at the time the homicide liaison from the Commonwealth attorney's office. I could not get him on the phone. I called the second liaison person, which was Ryan Conroy. I explained to her, I kind of gave her a quick background of the case we were working. There was information that a witness wanted to produce another witness who possibly had tampered with evidence. We, of course, wanted that information because at the time we don't know what the information is other than they were a party to tampering with the evidence. So we don't know if they were going to say, hey, it's all wrote up in a nice tight bundle at my cousin's house in the garage, or we had no idea where it was at. So we wanted that information, of course. Reluctantly, her and I made the decision. Ultimately, it's her decision not to charge. She agreed that the information that we would get, this person, they had to be specific to only tampering, nothing else. Only the drive, basically. They didn't do anything else other than a potential portion of the tampering.
Does that mean if you had gotten information that this person was involved in the murder,
then all agreements would be off.
did you transmit that agreement to Galper?
Yes.
And then did he give you text message?
Yes.
At that time, did you all make the further phone calls that we have heard in this trial?
Yes.
What did you do after this conversation in Alabama?
With everybody?
Yes.
We got right back in the car, drove directly back to Louisville. Hadn't eaten in forever, so we stopped just at a McDonald's on President Highway close to Cassie's house because we knew just from a little bit of the information she had given us on the phone, I wanted to confer with her and kind of shore up her answer because obviously she originally said when he asked, or when the question came up, who did this, and she was kind of like unsure and soft-spoken and kind of said, you did. And then she's like, she said it twice, you did, and then she's like, I don't know. And then went on to tell us the version you all have heard, which was the defendant being involved. So the first stop that I wanted to do was go directly back to her and speak to her. So we quickly went to McDonald's, went to 1360 Vim Drive, assuming she would be home. She was not. I made a phone call, left a message, and she called me directly back within a few minutes.
Did you all have a conversation on that during that phone call?
Cassie and I? Yes.
Did you make plans with her for Detective Wilder to come out?
Well, at the time we didn't know. I'd been up for I think 36 hours probably, so I didn't know if it would be myself or who. So I don't know if I specifically said Detective Wilder, but I told her somebody would, myself or someone, would come back tonight.
What did you do after that?
After the the interview with Cassie that morning, and I had her retell me, or however you want to say it, her version of what happened that night. Myself and Detective Stabby drove directly to the home of innocence where Mr. Young was living, and he was placed under arrest.
What was his reaction to being placed under arrest?
When I told him his charges, I just said, "You're under arrest for the murder of Tracy Rooker," and his answer was, "Yeah."
I'm going to show you the red markers 128 and 131.
Okay.
Do you recognize these photos?
Yes, ma'am.
What are they?
Those were photographs taken after the interview. The defendant, Mr. Young.
Any objection? Introduced. Just a moment here.
That's my computer.
Okay.
And is that a photo of the defendant as he appeared that day?
Yes.
Is that, what kind of photos do you all take?
Actually, I had, of course, interviewed him, and that's all the things he was wearing, but I had just left, I think, just when the interview was over, because, of course, I'd been up for a day and a half, and the crime scene technicians and Detective Lesher, I believe, actually did the actual photos. I was probably just walking out right about when these were being taken. So they're just basically just stand-up photos of who they were, the persons were interviewing at the time of the arrest.
Okay. When you brought him in to homicide that day, did you interview him?
Yes.
And was that recorded?
Yes.
Sorry, Judge, this is back to my computer. And just to confirm, was the date June 23rd?
Yes, the interview started at about 9:34 in the morning, and at 9:47 I read him his Miranda rights.
You're playing this on your own external speakers.
Yes. No, this is supposed to be the computer, because this one should not have the volume.
Okay.
Is it set up to do that?
Maybe.
Ready?
Is it playing? Yeah.
I talked to you the other day, and I was asking you about consistency in your statement, things like that. About being weird in the house, looking for trees, always trying to see me out of talking to you, or not being there. And I think you're still not sure the whole aspect of exactly where you were at.
Will you push pause a minute? There's one other thing I can do. That is to try and turn up my master volume. If they haven't blocked the cabinet. They've locked the cabinet. They won't let me in, so I can't do that. Right.
So I want to give you an opportunity, really the last opportunity, to tell me what really happened. Because I talked to your dad, I talked to Cassie, I talked to John, I talked to your grandmother, I talked to Angelique. Okay, I know about all the conversations that went on at the
explain, and all that stuff. So everybody has kind of decided they needed to tell the truth because they know it's not right for Trey to be down there at the creek, found dead, like he was. So your dad stepped up, did the right thing. Your grandmother stepped up, did the right thing. Cassie stood up, did the right thing, including telling me that they could tell me about your own drive after that. Okay? So I'm just going to go through the story on how it happened or why it happened or
what time did you say that interview was?
Started approximately 9:34, and I read him his Miranda rights at 9:47.
Is that AM or PM?
I'm sorry, AM.
Did you conduct any interviews the following day?
Let me see what the date was on that again, I'm sorry. 23rd, yeah, on June 24th, I spoke to Angelique again, and also on June 24th, I spoke to Jahar Riddle, or Jahar Friend.
Did you ever contemplate further investigating the dumpsters?
Yes, that's as far as when I had to take a ladder that night of the 23rd, do the drive with Cassie to show us exactly where that happened, yes.
And why didn't you search the manhole or the dumpsters?
Well, we've had experience with that recently when this case had happened, and that was just a few days after we would be looking for a body, and we looked under several hundred tons of trash with no luck, and the commanding officer of the commander of the homicide unit, which was Lieutenant Wilkerson, and I spoke about it, and the decision was made that, especially after almost 30 days, give or take, that we'd be looking under several hundred tons of trash for a baseball bat and a bag with clothes, and the decision was made not to do that.
Did you continue to conduct interviews after this?
Yes, I spoke to, I don't know if you can go name by name or people who I spoke to. I mean, I spoke to additional witnesses, probably another 10 or 15 people at that point.
At some point, did you get cell phone records related to this case?
We got cell phone records from some of the Bridgewood folks, Trey's, Amanda's, and of course we had sent off, which was, I thought I'd sent off Mr. Gowker's a lot sooner than I had. And of course I'm also working other murder cases of my own, assisting other detectives in other murder cases. And then of course I realized that I hadn't sent off a request for Mr. Gowker's. So when I did send the request off, the phone company had replied and said those records had been destroyed.
And why did you ever look into getting evidence for the phone people involved?
I don't believe about the ping records, just for a simple fact that if they were involved, the murder happened a couple hundred feet from their house, so I would expect any calls that were made or any activity on the phone would have pinged off the closest tower to their house and the murder scene, so I did not do that, no.
In the summer of 2012, did you receive any information on the case?
I'd spoken to 3 inmates who'd given us information that Mr. I guess how far do you want me to go into their generally I had received information from 3 inmates who stated to the effect of that Mr. Gowker had planned this murder and had his son do the murder.
And did you, in July 2012, did you talk to Cassie again? July 17th.
Yes, I did. I spoke to her on July 17th.
Did she tell you anything about what Gowker told her?
This was an interview, I guess, that I think I was back at her house, and these were, I don't know if that's the time, I think I was trying to serve a subpoena, I don't remember, I've spoken to her so many times. But I'd ask if there was any additional information that she had that she felt like she wanted to pass along, and this was the conversation where she had spoken. She said Gowker had told her things previously, though, like a month or 2 prior to the murder. Things like he said something about, in general, an eye for an eye, you kill my kid, I'll kill yours, that he was going to plan it and have the defendant commit the murder. She had overheard some things. She felt that Mr. Young had been bragging and boasting about the murder, was acting really with no remorse. And then I even tried to kind of trip her up a little bit. And, of course, I lied to her, and I told her that we had information that she took things to the dumpster herself just to try to get a reaction from her to see what she would say. And she was adamant that Mr. Young was with her and that Mr. Young is the one that put the items in the dumpster. And that she had mentioned Mr. Gowker had mentioned wanting to try to get a gun in Louisville before he left to go to Alabama, or south, I guess.
In August, I believe, of 2012 was a new indictment.
Yes, I don't remember the exact date. I thought it was somewhere in late July or early August. I don't remember the exact date, but yes.
And who was indicted?
Mr. Gowker was indicted.
What changed your mind? Why did you indict Gowker, or ask me to indict Gowker a year later after?
Well, because we had received new information from three inmates, and then some of the things that Cassie had told us.
Did this come as a surprise to you that Gowker could possibly be involved?
No, I think pretty much all along, especially with just the type of murder it was. It was personal. It was up close. I felt from the beginning it was probably somebody that knew him or had close relationships with him, but we didn't have the probable cause at that point to make the arrest anywhere until the indictment was made to make the arrest.
Did you just indict somebody because you know he was probably involved?
No.
Just 1 second.
Nope. No problem.
When you were collecting items in the beginning, the sword, the knife, why didn't you fingerprint those? Or why didn't you send off those fingerprints?
Well, early on, we were thinking sword and knife and things, and of course you have heard testimony on what could have happened or could have occurred at some point. I think with the information we received about the baseball bats and things, they were swabbed for DNA. And honestly, I can't remember without looking at one of the reports if they were ever even fingerprinted. I just don't remember. I know they were swabbed for DNA.
Did further investigation lead you to believe that those had anything to do with the murder?
Well, after speaking to Mr. Gowker, Angelique, Johara, Cassie, we felt that the baseball bat was involved.
What was the delay on sending things to the lab?
Well, I mean, I don't know the exact delay. I don't remember the exact month we sent those off. The stuff is in the police property room. It's sitting there. I'm working multiple other cases. It's sitting on other cases. And at some point, I'll have time or get together and figure out what is going to be sent off. We have a limitation, which is disappointing, actually, but we are allowed to send 10 items to the Kentucky State Police Crime Lab on a murder case, excluding swab, like just the buccal swabs. Those are excluded. So if I collected 30 pieces of evidence or 200 pieces of evidence, I have to, and I get with other detectives and ask their opinion, or the crime scene folks, their opinion, which 10 are the most important. And we will send those first 10 off. Now, if those don't come back with the results of any benefit, the crime lab will allow us, with permission, to send up to 10 additional items, which I think was done in this case close to 10 on the second sending.
So is that why we saw 2 different batches with the lab people?
Yes.
I think that is all.
All right, may I have the attorneys up here, please? resume tomorrow at 9 a.m. We found some more notebook paper. If you all need more paper to take notes on, it'll be on the table over there. Remember your admonition. Be ready to come back in at 9 o'clock in the morning. All rise for the departing jury. Jury's out. I'm going to permit the defense to put some avowal testimony on. Out of order. Oh, you're not? Thank you.
Is it okay if I just leave it?
She's going to be called up here. What we will need you to do is move all of the materials someplace else so the witness will have a clear spot. Thank you.
Second, edit that box out.
And I'm going to mark this as avowal testimony from defendant. May have a full name. Lexi.
Alexis, L-E-X-I-S, Stoneburner, S-T-O-N-E-B-U-R-N.
All right, Lexi Stoneburner.
Alexis Stoneburner. Alexis Stoneburner.
If you want to.
But it's
Stoneburner, if you'll come up to the witness stand, please. I'm going to place you under oath before you have a seat. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be truthful? Thank you. Have a seat. Be comfortable. I encourage you to sit up close to the microphone. It's adjustable for your height. Keep your voice up good and loud. Thank you.
Alexis, state your full name for the record, please.
Alexis Marie Stoneburner,
What part of town do you live in?
Fern Creek, J-Town area.
And in 2010, specifically summer and fall, were you living in the same place that you are now?
Yes.
Who were you living there with?
I was living with my mom, my dad, my grandma, my brother Trey, my sister Carly, and Josh.
So in this case, we have two Joshes and two Treys.
One Josh, two Treys, one.
Two Treys and two Joshes.
Oh, yes, okay. I thought you meant living in my house.
Yeah, okay. Do you know Joshua Young?
Yes.
Can you state how you first met him?
Yes, we at Home of the Innocents.
Why were you at the Home of the Innocents?
Because my parents were in the foster to adopt. We were all in the foster to adopt program, and the social worker said that we were a good match for them, so we met them at Home of the Innocents as our first
Who
meeting.
did you meet?
Joshua Young and Carly
Who's Carly?
Young. It is his biological sister.
What's Carly's situation now?
We have adopted her.
So were the plans that you were going to adopt both Joshua and Carly?
Yes.
And did I ask you how old you were?
No. 15.
Where were you going to school in the fall of 2010?
Ramsey Middle School.
When did you first meet Joshua? If you could put a time on it, when you first met him at the Home of the Innocents.
In September. of 2010.
And how long have you known him?
I've known 3 years now.
How long was he living in your house?
7 months.
Was he always living in your house full time, or did that change?
Through those 7 months, yes, and then he started going weekends to Gowker, and then it started becoming more permanent.
Do you know Joshua Gowker?
Yes.
Did you know Joshua Gowker in the fall and winter of 2010?
Yes.
How did you know him?
Well, the first visit was, I think, Christmas Eve of 2010 when Josh visited Gowker.
Okay. Did Gowker visit you in your home?
Yes.
When? And what were the circumstances?
Thanksgiving dinner. It was Gowker, Amanda, Mackenzie, and Josh, because he was living in our house at the time, and they came over to visit for Thanksgiving.
What was the reason they were there for the visit?
Thanksgiving dinner to eat with us. And
What year was that?
2010.
Thank you.
And what was your understanding why Gowker was in the picture at that time? What was going on?
well, my understanding was that he was just he got out of jail, and he was going to get custody back of Josh after visiting and stuff like that.
How did that make you feel that Joshua Young was going to leave your household?
Well, I didn't know that that could happen. I didn't know that, but when the social worker talked to me, our social worker, she was just saying, like, the goal is, and my parents were telling me, that the kids always get reunited with their family or with someone of their relatives. So I was kind of sad because, Josh was always nice to have around in our house.
So you started out thinking your family was going to adopt him.
Yeah.
He was going to be a foster brother, and at some point in time, you thought that reunification was going to be forthcoming.
Yes.
And eventually, Joshua did get supervised visitation with Gowker.
Yes.
Did you say it was in December?
That was the first visit I think he had with his dad was Christmas Eve.
And do you remember when he left for good? What month it was?
No, not exactly.
How much contact did you have with Joshua when he was living with Gowker?
Not as much, obviously it wasn't, but we'd call every once in a while, and we would go and visit him and just to check on him, see how things were doing.
You wanted to stay close with him?
Yeah.
And did you know Trey?
Yes.
And how would you describe Trey's relationship with Joshua living with Gowker?
That was whenever, as one of his best friends, that's the only person he ever referred to me or as his best friend.
We talked about Trey a lot to you.
Yes.
Did you ever observe any ill will between them, fighting, anything?
Never.
What kind of things did they like to do together?
Well, when Josh was living with us, we went and visited them at McDonald's, and he was really excited about that.
When you say them, who are you talking about?
Amanda, and we picked up Gowker. Then we went to McDonald's. We went and saw Amanda and Trey.
And this is McDonald's at Taylorsville Road and Bardstown Road?
The one that Amanda was working at. I'm not exactly.
Where it was?
Not exactly, no.
Okay. Did y'all have was it crowded? Were y'all interacting, or what were y'all doing?
We were waiting, and then Trey and Amanda got a break, and we went out in the play place and played with Carly and hung out there.
Was there ever any indication to you that a murder was going to happen to Trey?
Never.
Of Joshua? Or
Never.
anybody else for that matter?
Never.
Joshua was in what school? Going to what school?
Fern Creek High School.
And what's your brother's name?
Trey.
How old is he?
19 now.
And what was Joshua's relationship with that?
With Trey, with my brother, he was his foster brother also.
And how close were they?
They were pretty close from what I can tell. They would always, go and we would all play outside and hang out, and they'd play video games all the time. I'd try, but I was never really good at them.
What can you tell the court, and I guess the jury that's not here, but how would you there any plans for Joshua Young to get a job, and what were those circumstances?
Yes, he was very excited to go work with Trey at McDonald's. That was his whole line that he would tell us a lot. He would say, "I'm so excited to go work at McDonald's with Trey."
When was that he was thinking about going to work with Trey at McDonald's?
Whenever there was a chance that he was going back with his dad, and when all that happened, he was really excited that he could go get a job, make money, and work with Trey.
That's all.
Any cross-examination? Thank you very much, Ms. Stoneburden.
Thank you.
You're free to go. You want to put on any other eval proof for now?
I'm not sure where we are on that. Do we want to talk at the bench, or?
Yes, probably.
I know she looked at
you all turn the court presenter off tonight so you don't burn all my bulbs out?
I turned it off every night. I was trained by being early. Turn on projector all the time.
Nine is the default return time. No, whatever the question is. No. No, I'm just kidding. Do you have a question of me?
I sure do.
Okay, come up, please.
Thank you for these.
I love my friends in the media.
Well, first I have a question.
I do. Don't you feel respected, treated with dignity and respect in the courtroom? I mean, how many judges bring you up and let you have conferences? I don't ever let Jason come up and do
I
that.
hate to say it, but more than enough. Don't tell Jason that.
Jason, do you want to come up too and participate?
I don't know what's going on.
We're locking people up.
Yeah, she was talking about locking the...
That's okay. I'm all right.
It was really bold.